Welcome back to Purpose of Life. I'm sitting with Madhana Kumar, expert in the topic servant leadership. And the question I asked him before the break is, there are many people in the Bible who have used power and many have abused power. Madhana, in your topic and experience reading the Bible, we talk about use and abuse. Just give me a few examples and your takes on the use, how people have used it well, what do we learn from them, and how people have supposed to use it but they've abused it, and what do we learn from them?
Okay, permit me to use the negative aspect first.
Yeah.
The misuse part, because that is plenty.
Yeah.
Right? We could start from Saul himself and then go to others.
Yeah.
But let us pick not so often studied character. Let's pick Rehoboam. Right. So Rehoboam, when he became the king after Solomon's death, and I choose Rehoboam because this is actually a dilemma that many people in leadership positions face, right? And so let me explain why. Because when Rehoboam became the king, the people came to him and told him that, look, we are suffering. There is a lot of taxes and all that stuff. So do something about it.
Correct.
Relieve, give us some relief.
Correct.
So that was a genuine request to them. And and they're saying, look, you are now the king. You have the power to do it. So you could do this, right? And so the good thing is Rehoboam, of course, at least listens to them and says that, okay, I will come back to you with an answer. And then he goes and consults two groups of people, right? Forget about the age group and all that. I in my view, that doesn't have any particular meaning.
Correct.
But the first group of people very clearly tell him that, actually the Bible records it saying that they clearly tell him, if you serve these people today, they will be your servants forever. Right?
The key word.
The key word, So they're telling them that, look, if you just serve them, if you just listen to them, if you just give them the relief that they are doing by serving them, they will be your servants forever. And then, of course, he goes and checks with another group of people, and the second group of people tell him that, hey, man, you are the king. Why do you have to listen to anybody, right? You are the king and you have the power to do anything that you want, right? So show them the power. Show who is the boss, right? Show who is the boss. And go do it. And Rehoboam chooses
to show who the boss is.
Yeah, who the boss is. It is a natural choice that he makes to show.
He had a choice. He had
a choice.
Two good choices.
He had beautiful choices, and he knew the consequences also. The first group of people did clearly tell him, if you serve them today, they will be your servants forever. And despite that, clarity, he still went ahead and chose power and went and told them, look,
the bad choice.
You think you are suffering now. I will multiply your this thing. I will be making your troubles more, because now I have the power to do that. And then what happens because of that, the kingdom breaks up, and whole messed up, and the whole division between the south and the north starts at that point in time, and then onwards it is a
in fact, he could have built up the empire to a much more bigger.
Absolutely. And
he
if you just had listen to that, if you serve them today, they will be your servants forever. If you just had listened to that, the history of Israel would have been different.
There's also a particular type of ego also mixed with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the king.
Yeah.
I will tell you, don't tell me.
Exactly. Yeah. The pride,
Pride.
as I was talking about, right? The self-will.
Yeah.
So all those things, come into picture to show that, yes, this is.
So let's now move to the other side.
So the positive one, of course, the best example is Jesus himself, who reversed this when he when he told his disciples the not so command, right? Matthew 20:25-28, where he says the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, not so with you, right? And then he goes on to conclude by saying that because the Son of Man came not to be served but to serve and give his life for as a ransom for many, right? So actually, Jesus is actually reversing that trend.
The whole concept of power.
Reversing, and he is asking people to choose serving rather than using the lording over others, the not so with you command, right? And so that is very, very clear command that is given. So that is the best example. Now, if you want to take another example in the New Testament, I would take, our friend Barnabas. Right?
Why would you take Barnabas?
Yeah. So, you look at Barnabas and Paul, right? Paul was basically, till yesterday he was, putting Christians
on.
in prison and tolerating them. So he was basically a Christian killer,
an anti-Christian.
Yeah, anti-Christian guy. And then one fine morning he wakes up and says, I am now a Christian, and I believe in this thing, and I want to go and meet the apostles.
In fact, people get scared.
Yeah, exactly. The Bible says that the apostles were afraid that he is coming. Who stands guarantee for him? It is Barnabas. It's Barnabas who says, okay, look, I will come with you. I will introduce you. I will take you to the apostles. I will introduce you to the apostles.
So he bridges the gap.
He bridges the gap. He actually, and the name Barnabas itself stands for, the son of encouragement, right? And so he actually encourages Paul. He takes them with him. He goes and introduces them. He acts as the bridge, sort of guaranteeing. I mean, who would stand guarantee for somebody who was killing Christians till yesterday, right? And then of course he also also follows or accompanies Paul in all his earlier mission journeys, till the time is right and he can go himself, whatever circumstances. But he was there, in the initial, and who became more famous, who is more more powerful, more impactful, and things like that. And Barnabas is very happy to go into the background and and intercede and take Paul, take all the glory and
go on,
go on like that, right? So here is one guy who had the power to say, look, I don't want to come with you. You manage your own, or you do yourself. But he was willing to invest in somebody to an extent that the other person becomes better, bigger, wiser, richer, healthier, wealthier than yourself, more famous than yourself.
Absolutely.
So
that is real power.
That is the real use of the good use of power. Yeah,
power and influence. I would like to get your take on one incident which Jesus talks about authority, in other words, power, where he meets a centurion. And the centurion comes here saying his servant is sick. And it's a very beautiful cinematic episode there.
Right. When
I say cinematic, it's so real that Jesus looks to that centurion and he says, he just looks back, and then the centurion says, sir, I'm a man of authority, and I don't think you need to come. Just say the word, and I know exactly what authority can do. In other words, what power can do. Explain this whole process. And Jesus makes a beautiful statement. I've never seen a man of. So how do you see this whole episode in this context of authority and power?
So I mean, this is where people who are aware of what authority can do, so the centurion has that first-hand experience of what authority is, and when he gives a command, it will be obeyed. People will do. It will happen. He doesn't need to follow through. He doesn't need to be physically present there. As long as he knows that he has given the command, it will happen, and he has that trust in his in his people, and that is really true leadership. When the leader can have full trust in their people, that is, as long as the leader says something, it will happen. It is not that I need to be there and physically and all that stuff, right? So that is the level of influence. Actually, the centurion is really explaining the level of influence that he has on his troops, right? Saying that, look, if I say something, my word is a command, and people will obey, and I have that trust in him, and so I have trust in you, because if you say something, it will happen, right? So he's actually saying that, look, I have my trust in my people, and so I consider you as my leader, and I trust in you. You just say the word, it will happen. I have faith in you. I trust in you. So that is what we call the leadership at the speed of trust.
Right? And Jesus makes a beautiful statement saying that I've never found a person of such faith.
Yeah. And you would find it multiple times, where Jesus says, your faith has healed you.
Correct.
Not anything else.
Faith has healed you.
Faith has healed you. So he keeps repeating it. It is faith, and of course, ultimately Paul makes it very clear that it is nothing else that saves you. It is faith that saves you, right? Yeah. So it is that aspect that Jesus is bringing out in this particular relationship.
We're going to take a short break, Madan. But after the break, we're going to talk about another interesting fact. Which again, leadership, which I want to expound and see what's your take on. Jesus giving 1 talent to one person, 5 to 1, and 10 to 1. It's a very interesting example, but he's so real in that example. He gives 1, and he gives 5, and he gives 10. Let's find out what's the world standard of looking at it, what's God's standard of looking at it. It's a very interesting question. Let's find out how the world looks at giving talents and how God looks at giving talents. Don't miss the last part of this series.